Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee with the County. Today I am with Cammie Genz. Cammie, is that okay? Or Cameron? Which one would you
Cammie is fine. My formal name is Cameron, which people will see on paperwork, but everybody calls me Cammie.
Everybody calls you Cammie. Well, that's awesome. Director of Community Corrections.
That's correct.
We're happy to be here today to talk about community corrections, and I think we'd love to start with you, Cammie. Tell us, how did you get here, and how did you come about? Are you an Aiken resident for life, or that type of thing?
So I was born and raised in Aiken. My dad was a teacher here at Aiken Public Schools. My mom also worked for the public schools. I graduated from Aiken in 1992 and went on to post-secondary at Bemidji State. When I graduated, I moved to Crow Wing County, but I began working in various positions within Aiken County, mostly related to high-risk juveniles. I worked for University of Minnesota with an alcohol, tobacco, and drug prevention group with the class of 2000. I also worked via community ed with the Northland Foundation Youth Plus group, which was also alcohol and drug prevention. And then in 2000, I started part-time at Aiken County in the juvenile diversion program, working under Cheryl Meld, who a number of people may know from the McGregor area. Cheryl took a position through the McGregor School, where she still is, and I became the juvenile coordinator at that time. And then in 2006, I moved over to the actual probation department, which at that time was a joint powers agreement with Crow Wing and Morrison counties and Aiken County.
So a few counties combined together on that.
Yeah, so born and raised in Aiken, and I'm pretty proud of that, pretty proud of how Aiken has progressed through the years, and my kids still go to school here, and my parents still live here, so I've got a connection here that I don't see ending anytime soon.
Still a gobbler, always a gobbler, right?
That's right.
That's the way it's going to work?
Yes.
That's good.
But I'm married to a Ranger, so...
Oh, no. How does that go over? Does that go well with the basketball and football and all that good stuff?
He and I have an understanding. Gobblers are better. It is what it is, and he's understood that now, so...
That is true. So, community corrections, that's got a lot of things inside of that. Tell me a little bit about your staff, and what kind of things does community corrections do?
Our staff makeup has been kind of a whirlwind since June of 2016, when the joint powers with Morrison and Aiken and Crow Wing counties ended, and Aiken County became its own standalone Community Corrections Act county. Since that time, we have had a number of changes in staff, partly due to retirements, people moving, getting married, things like that. So we currently have a staff of 9 people, myself included. So myself as director, an office assistant, 6 probation agents, and then a newly hired within the past year evidence-based practices coordinator who also serves part-time as an assistant agent. I started out my career in probation as a juvenile agent and did that up until 2017 when I was hired on as director. So we have been fully staffed with the 9 of us and haven't had any staff changes since we hired our office assistant in May, and that's a pretty good track record given the retirements and things we've had in the last 4 years.
Yeah, that feels pretty good. I'm always amazed at, the size of our county, 16,000 people or so, but just the vast size of our county, and getting all of Community Corrections Department done with 9 staff members seems really amazing that can get done with that few of people, I guess, is the way to look at that.
And I would have to say in great part that's due to the staff that I have. I have really great staff, 3 of whom have been with the department since I took over as director in 2017. So Andy, Taylor, and Jake have been here with me in my journey as director since the very beginning. Chelsea and Sam have been here, I think, both 5 years. And then our 3 newest are Cassie and Avery and Todd, and they've been with us for about a year.
So for those of you that don't know, they're also the chili cook-off champions over
2 years
there
running,
in Community
woo-woo.
Corrections. So that's always good to have on the resume. But you mentioned, is it case agent? Is it agent that is the departments in there? What do they do? What is Community Corrections responsible for taking care of with our citizens?
Sure. If people want to take a look at it, at some formal definitions under statute, it's Chapter 401 that essentially defines community corrections or community supervision across the state of Minnesota. And in Minnesota, we are unique in the fact that we have 3 potential delivery systems that a county could choose. We have Department of Corrections through the state that handles all juvenile, misdemeanor, felony for juvenile and for adult, as well as supervised release and parole. There's another option to do CPO, which is county probation officers, and those do misdemeanor and gross misdemeanor adult and juvenile files. They work for the court, for the judge, and then those counties contract in Department of Corrections state employees to supervise felonies. CCA, which is what Aiken County is, we cover juveniles and adults for petty misdemeanors, diversion, misdemeanors, felonies, the sex offender, supervised release from prison, all of that. So in general, our job is to ensure that our clients who are placed on probation are completing the court-ordered conditions of their probation. But I would say more than anything, what our agents do is trying to work with clients to set them up with the services that they need to be successful in the community. Our goal in Aiken County as agents is not to catch people doing something wrong. We do have to hold people accountable when they're not completing the things they need to do, but we would rather see people be successful. And in order to do that, we spend quite a bit of time with clients referring out for services that they might need. So we're referring out for mental health services, chemical addiction services, sometimes family services, a number of different things that they might need to be successful and make the changes that they need.
Yeah, that's really important to say that, again, I've been talking to a few of the department heads and departments in our county, and they all have that community support, right, that want to reach out, want to help. You guys, for lack of a better term, are probably the guides. Once a person has gone down a certain path, it's most important to get them to turn that around, be successful on the way back out of that path. So I think that's a huge compliment to your team on all that hard work that gets done with that. And needless to say, I'm sure that you have to collaborate with very closely with our sheriff's department and with our county attorney as well, along with the judge, I would assume, right?
Yes, we collaborate with a number of different agencies, not only within the county system itself, but outside the county, in different counties, with the DOC. And we do a lot of time on the phone or in person, having conferences or meetings or teaming up, so to speak, with other people to get our clients the services that they need. And something that we always try to say in our department that I remind staff about all the time is that our job is to understand what the client needs, but also understand that our clients don't always have the resources or the knowledge about what's available to them. Mm-hmm. And so our job is, number one, to always be respectful to our clients, and number two, to always make sure that we're asking them what help that they need, that we're not getting into a habit of assuming that we know what clients need. Sure. What's important to them is more important than what we think is important.
It's a lot of one-on-one listening and talking through those different situations. Informing and educating the client to all of the opportunities that are out there for them for whatever specific need they might have.
Right.
So I suppose that the legislature, everything in our government is, we get rules and regulations from the state and things like that. I suppose there's a lot of changes that happen throughout each legislative session for you?
Absolutely, and I think in 2023, that session was by far probably the biggest amount of changes that we've seen in community corrections in many, many years. As a lot of people may know, legislature changed things such as probation caps. So they modified how long a person can be on probation. And I think there was a mixed reaction to that by different agencies and different people. One thing that we had noticed in our office is that we may have had somebody on probation for a drug offense that may have been on probation for 40 years. Well, now that felony drug charge is only going to be on probation for 5 years. And there was some reaction to things like that. Changing the amount of years on probation would be detrimental to public safety. I think what we find in this field is that the people that are going to be unsuccessful for whatever reason that may be, that tends to happen pretty early on. And if we can get people through 2 or 3 years of probation successfully, it's generally a pretty good indicator that they can manage to be law-abiding on their own, at least for a period of time. It's not to say that they'll never reoffend again, but from a public safety standpoint, that 2 or 3 year mark is a pretty good indicator for people. And so that was one of the changes that they made that caused a lot of work for us with regard to closing out files and submitting things to the court. And we've been all caught up on that, and that's going pretty smoothly now with the change. Another change that people probably heard about was the funding increase. For many years, the state was by statute supposed to fund CPO counties and CCA counties at a certain extent.
CPO county and CCA county?
Yeah, so the CPO county is what we talked about, the county probation officers that handle misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors and are technically employed by the court. And then the CCA counties is what Aiken County is, Community Corrections Act County. And we handle all of the files from juvenile to adult, misdemeanor to felony. So part of the 2023 legislature also changed the way that the funding formula in which the state funds community supervision, that changed. So we got an increase in funding, which helps us to provide some of those additional services. We provide essential services, but now we have a little bit extra money to help pay for staff, to help focus more on the evidence-based practice, the case management, the referral, the one-on-one time with clients, and it helps to take that burden off the individual county and the taxpayers, because that money is now, in part, some of that money is coming from the state versus such a large percent prior was coming directly from the county.
Directly from
and
our
so that was a good
citizens.
that was a
that's
good legislature change. And the last thing that was from the legislature that are still pending. The legislature gave a list of about 10 deliverables that community supervision agencies needed to meet, in essence, as a result of the new funding that we got.
Okay.
So a couple extra things that were on there. They sent in the Council on State Governments, which is a national organization that works with local county and city governments. They came in and did a little bit of research on corrections in Minnesota. I'm currently on a couple of committees that they're looking at supervision standards across the state of Minnesota and also risk and needs assessment so that we can better assess our clients to be able to supervise them more accurately to the level that they need to be supervised. Part of that is doing a risk assessment and then developing a case plan. And so the case plan is really client-driven. What does the client think are the biggest factors in their life that they need to work on to change to be successful? And so putting all those pieces together in a way that is fairly consistent across all 3 delivery systems in the state is one of the big projects that we're working on, that I've been working with a number of agents and directors across the state to kind of help develop and format and bring back to the legislature.
Well, thank you for doing that.
It's been exciting.
Keep
I've
up
really
that
enjoyed
good
it.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like, it's not a click and paste for every client that you have, and it sounds like you guys really dig into the detail of how to help and how to support the best that you can to make that client successful or help that client be successful on their own. And if you had one thing that you wanted the public to know and the listeners that are out there about community corrections, what would be the one thing you want everybody to know before I let you go here today?
That's a tough question because I had said to you earlier that I think probation tends to be one of those agencies that people kind of forget about. We don't have a lot of requests for information about what we do or who we are, so I was glad to come on today. I think one thing I would like people to know about corrections is that, number one, I really do have great staff, and staff that really care about our clients, our community. They have integrity and they want to do their job well. And for community members, if you have questions, you can stop in any time. You can call me, email me. I'm happy to answer any questions about the probation world in general. Obviously, I can't answer a lot of questions about specific clients, but I can certainly kind of talk through any situation or aspect of probation. Or I'm not an expert on DOC or the prison system, but I've got a pretty good feel for it. So if anybody has any questions, they can reach out. I can give them some information. Like I said, they can also look up the statute 401 to get a little bit more information about how corrections in Minnesota works.
That's interesting. It's, the whole process that I've seen so far. We have really talented staff here at Aiken County, and the listener should feel really comfortable that the taxpayer dollar is going towards projects, different things, different departments that have really solid staff and that really care about the community and care about the clients that you deal with every day and that type of thing. So it's really good to hear, really good to see, and I thank you for coming in. I hope that you'll come back again. We can have these regular conversations on everything corrections if you want to do that, or if you want to have some of your staff members come in and talk individually about different things. We'd love to learn. This is what the podcast program is intended to do, is to teach the citizens about those different departments that they might not know about or never have to have interaction with. And it's just good to know that we're here and what it is that you do. So, Cammie, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we'll see you again real soon.
That sounds great.
You're listening to Coffee with the County.